Alex Marlow here, editor-in-chief of Breitbart News and host of Breitbart News Daily and SiriusXM Patriot number 125 with Florida Congressman Byron Donalds. Congressman, it's great to speak with you.
Pleasure to be here.
So we're at Student Action Summit 2021 here in Florida, your home state. Everyone's jealous who doesn't live in Florida. Florida's having a moment right now.
Oh, we definitely are. They should be jealous. First of all, we have the best governor in the country. That's number one. But number two, and more important, our state has been steeped in, frankly, conservative Republican values for more than 27 years. Like, Florida is not an accident. We've been this way because we've been leading this way for a very long time. We're what California used to be, and we're grateful that the other guy didn't win, or else we would have been locked down this entire time. Ron DeSantis has done a phenomenal job. That's why he's proven to be the best governor in the country.
You know, it's amazing, and I've known Governor DeSantis for a while, and that he obviously was a super bright person, but he won a really tight general and a really tight primary. So it was so close that he wouldn't even be on the national scene the way he is now. And now everyone kind of agrees he's the guy who's getting the job done.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, look, first of all, you got to be thankful to the voters of Florida who made the right choice in that election. The proof has been without question. Even Democrats, if they're gonna, they don't want to share it on social media, but even they have to acknowledge that if Ron DeSantis was not governor of our state, their businesses would have been locked down, our kids would not be in school, we'd be in a much worse shape as a state today than we would have been without him. So it's just grateful to live in a state that supports and honors freedom.
So what do you think when you think of states like California that has Disneyland, very similar to your Disney World? Disney World opened up 300 days before Disneyland, saw no super spreader events or anything like that. Disneyland across the country staying closed. What do you guys think about just California's gone crazy, New York's gone crazy, all these places?
No, I just think that what happened is that when the rubber meets the road and a real emergency hits, people's true colors are revealed. Yeah. And what California, New York revealed is that they believe in top-down authoritarian control. They don't believe actually empowering people. Yes. They don't believe in actually following the science, actually looking at the data and making a decision based upon what's in the best interest of people. They prefer politics. They prefer to look good in the New York Times and on CNN.
That's correct.
And so, the one thing that we've seen come out of it, there's been a mass exodus out of California. We know there's been a mass exodus out of New York. I mean, look, Andrew Cuomo was the best realtor our state's ever seen. You know what I mean? So the proof is in the pudding. Milton Friedman said it best. People will decide with their feet.
Yes.
And when you see the movement of feet to where they're going, that's where the best political and economic policies reside.
So let's talk about CNN for a second, because they let you on for 5 minutes, and I guess you made them look bad, and then they almost were having you back, and then they say they don't want to have you back. So have you been back on? Are you still trying to get through to them?
I did Cuomo's show, I think like the next night or something.
Okay.
Actually, I am looking forward to going back. It's something that internally we talk about because it's one thing to talk about conservatism and sound government here at Turning Point or on Fox or with Breitbart or on OAN or Newsmax or whatever. It's another thing to take that to the New York Times, to MSNBC, to CNN. And that's something I look forward to doing, and we're going to be doing more of it as the months go by.
Now, you think they'll be fair to you? Because this is the thing that most conservatives, they're not fair. They're a pawn of some sort in some sort of big game that they're playing over there.
First answer is no, they're not going to be fair. I already know that. But the way I really look at it is this. I grew up as, playing sports, playing basketball, playing a ton of pickup basketball.
Sure.
When you hit the court, somebody walked up with their team.
Right.
And, they got like the two guys that played high-level high school. One guy played Division II college, and that's their team. It's not fair walking on the court, but what are you going to do, not play?
Yes.
Oh, no, I prefer to go and play. You put forward your best effort. Sometimes you're going to get a game or two. And the way I look at it is you go over there and you battle it out and you fight hard. Now, here's the reality. I think I'm better than a lot of the guys they have on the network, so I think I'll be okay.
I think you'll be okay, too, if they have you back. When you get too good, they don't have you back. That's kind of how it goes. But let's talk about a couple other political issues right now. One thing, if you go around this group, younger people, and you say what's first and foremost in their head, CRT, critical race theory. This is a big thing that's happening. I would say, I'm a white person, I would say it's really condescending to black Americans, but I'm not really an authority on the subject. What do you think?
I think, first of all, this is one of the most divisive things in our country. You can't have a situation where, despite of our history, despite of our past, we all know the past. It's not a secret. Nobody's hiding slavery and segregation and racism. Nobody's hiding that. But to weaponize an academic theory, and I stress a theory because it is a theory, it is not proven, and to try to move that into K-12 and to our military, That's outrageous because you divide people. The people who are the critical race theorists who say, oh, well, you haven't done all the reading. Oh, you haven't done all of the academic work. Well, guess what? What third grader in America is going to do all the reading and all the academic work? What 10th grader in America is going to do all the reading and all the academic work? Our men and women in our military don't have the time to do all the academic theory and all the work. They need to defend our country. That's why that kind of academic theory, which is so divisive and so divisive, shouldn't be in our military, in our schools. Not saying people aren't smart enough to look at that stuff, but you have to be prepared to and willing to go into that academic theory. It shouldn't just be thrust upon you and you have to make a decision on whether white people are good or not. That's outrageous. We should never do it.
So what's the pushback? Because the citizens are really, we can't wait for November 2022 to push back on this one. We got to move now.
Oh, I think people are right. Get in your school boards. School boards across the state are realizing they got a real problem on their hand. So much so the NEA and the AFT have to come out and say, oh, we're going to defend it because we think it's good. Oh yeah, Randy Weingarten? Well, you go ahead and defend it because I'll tell you this, you're on the wrong side of history when it comes to not just Americans, but also voters.
Yes.
Because I'll tell you this, middle-class mothers are watching this. Suburban moms are watching this. People in the inner city are watching this. I'm a father of 3 black sons. I don't want my black sons growing up thinking that somehow the white man has an edge on them and has something over them. I want my sons to work hard. I want them to work hard in school. I want them to do everything possible they need to do to succeed. That's what I want for them. I'm not trying to tell them that the white man's holding them down. They don't have a chance. That I don't want to teach my sons. I don't teach that to my kids. And frankly, most black parents don't teach that to their children.
See, this is the question that I think is such an important question that no one asks. Is that I don't think so either. I don't think that from my personal experience, it seems like something that maybe elites, black and white, are teaching this, but other than the super elites, I don't know if this is really a burning desire in the American people to have this.
Yeah, I think you're totally right there. The elites, unfortunately, because they luxuriate in our country, like they don't have to worry about things like, going to work and like putting food on the table.
The Biden inflation, which we should talk about.
Exactly. They don't have to worry about those kinds of things because they have so much excess in their lives. They get to sit around and think about this kind of stuff. But working men and women, they're not trying to deal with this mess. What they're trying to do is make sure there's food on the table, the rent or the mortgage is paid, or their kids learning. Those are the 3 things that they're focused on, and that's what they should be focused on because that's for the betterment of themselves and their family. They want to make sure their kids are better than they are. That's what they're focused on. The reason I know that is because that's what I want for my sons. That's what my mom wanted for me. All this other stuff, there's all these academic theories that they want to now thrust into the atmosphere that everybody's got to make a decision on one way or another. And if you're opposed to them, now either A, you're an oppressor, or B, you're brainwashed. That's outrageous. We shouldn't put the American people in the middle of that kind of decision or that juxtaposition. We should let people be free. We should teach full history. I totally support that. Teach all of it.
Why not?
But let people be free. Let people live life. Let's actually enjoy the harmony that is the United States of America.
Congressman Byron Donalds is with me, Republican from Florida. Let's talk about what your constituents really want to talk about, which is, what is it? Is it inflation? Is it CRT? Is it China? Is it big tech? Well, what are you getting what's the feedback you're getting?
All of the above, also water. But Cuba obviously is the latest one. Listen, at the end of the day, my constituents care about 2 important things. One is water policy. It's very important in our area. But number 2, they want an America that is free from anybody, whether it's Republican or Democrat, telling them how to live their lives and pushing that down from Washington, D.C. They want our markets and our economy to be open so all people can thrive. They don't want big tech or big bank or big healthcare or big pharma creating their own rules for themselves. They don't want big government creating all these rules that they can't simply find their way to get through. At the end of the day, they just want a prosperous, thriving country where anybody can succeed. That's what matters in my congressional district, and that's why I represent them the way that I do.
So at Breitbart, we've been talking about the threat of the big tech oligarchs for years and years, but something might have broke last week in people's minds when Jenszakis from the White House podium was suggesting that she'll be working with Facebook to censor. This might have flipped a switch in some people's heads, I hope. What was your reaction to her statements, and what do you think that means for the future?
Oh man, I was beside myself. What she admitted at the podium is outrageous. In my view, a complete and utter violation of the First Amendment of the United States. The First Amendment is very clear. Governments should never abridge the freedom of people to speak, ever. But that's exactly what they're doing, and they're using the social media companies through the back door in order to do it. And then she tried to get cute. She said first that, there are public platforms. Okay, Fine, if they're public platforms, then nobody should be able to censor them. But she goes, oh, but they're private companies.
Right.
No, you can't have it both ways.
Yes.
You got to pick one or the other.
Exactly.
But the White House, I don't care who the president is, should never be engaged with social media companies or any media companies to shape messages and narratives. That is outrageous. That flies in the face of what this country is built on. If your government is going to find ways to silence you or to remove your voice from the public square, you are on the road to tyranny.
Yeah, and this is where there's a couple of really important follow-ups there. The first point that you make, that of course this behavior should not go on with the First Amendment. It shouldn't be going on at all. But the fact that she can't decide whether or not they were a platform and thus should have certain protections, but they're also a private company which should have certain protections, it shows you they're all one and the same, the establishment in Washington and the big tech establishment.
Oh, very true. And that's why the thing is that when you have big government and people who believe in big government policies, they don't try to eradicate all these different industries. They try to co-opt them.
Yeah.
They want to bring them in under their power and under their control. And unfortunately, the heads of these companies don't seem to realize the only reason they even exist is because they've had a country that has allowed for economics and for commerce to thrive and prosper freely. The big tech guys wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for free market economy. They got here because of a free market economy, and then they're going to go hand in hand with this, with a big government authoritarian situation on free speech, trying to censor Americans. I don't care if you think somebody shouldn't be vaccinated or not. That is irrelevant. It is not Joe Biden's job to tell the American people, or frankly, behind the scenes, quiet half of the American people, or 20% of the American people, or 5% of the American people. That's not his job. His job is to be the commander-in-chief. His job is to sign bills that Congress sends him. That's it.
Congressman, can we connect a couple of really big narratives here?
Sure.
Because you're seeing how we've got CRT is being pushed by the left. We've got open borders also being pushed by the left, unless, of course, you're Cuban. Then the border's not open for you. The border's only open if you're coming from land, whatever reason that is. If you have a raft, doesn't apply for whatever reason. And then we have this inflation, which is we're seeing bacon's at a record. Gas is up 50%. Rental cars are up almost 100%. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. And it feels like to me the thing that's really affecting inner city households the most would be the inflation, the widespread immigration, that their labor and their citizenship is becoming watered down, less meaningful. But we're told CRT. We're told it's the fact that there is this encroaching white supremacy. What's your reaction to that?
I think the confluence of all these issues is very important. Too often in our politics, we talk about these things in silos as if they don't impact each other. Look, when I was just on stage, what I talked about is you have to look at the intersectionality of all these things. I mean, look, take the left's own language.
Yes.
They all intersect, and they're all terrible for our country. You cannot have people come to the country illegally to the tune of 1 million people already this year and growing, while at the same time overspend and cause inflation, while at the same time pay people to stay at home and pay them more money than they will make out in the working working world, while at the same time slipping in extended child tax credit benefits, which actually pay people more money to sit at home, because it's not like the children are going to go spend the money, it's going to sit with the parents. You can't do all those things. Couple that with the fact that you're getting rid of energy independence by shutting down the Keystone Pipeline here, but you allow the Russians to build a pipeline which sends oil into Europe, so the Europeans are now reliant on the Russians. You can't do all those things and think that that agenda is going to work for America. They're all bad policies, and they all intersect in some of the most destructive ways for our people not to be able to thrive. You have people coming to the country illegally, but then wages are going up because you're paying people to stay at home, but then you also wanted a $15 minimum wage anyway.
Right.
Like, this is all insane when you put them all together. And so that's why their agenda is so bad, they have to resort to CRT. They have to resort to, it's not even fear-mongering, a complete bastardization of the civil rights era and the Jim Crow era, trying to talk about voting rights as that is Jim Crow. I mean, that's why they have to resort to such nastiness in politics, because their agenda has already failed and they've only been in charge for 6 months.
Doesn't it cheapen Jim Crow and slavery if you're suggesting that the plight that people went through during those much worse times in American history is the same as people want a voter ID at the polls?
No, it absolutely does. I mean, it not only cheapens it, it actually is a complete disrespect to all the black people in our country who were victimized, brutalized because of Jim Crow laws. It is a complete disrespect, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so when they try to use that because they can't win an argument, because guess what? People like voter ID and people want secure elections. And because you can't figure that mess out, you have to resort to what you resort to. It's completely outrageous, makes no sense.
The last little combo of questions. The work of the House right now can't be too fun right now. It's mostly defense, but what's going on? Talking about H.R. 1, infrastructure, what's on the agenda?
Well, I think H.R. 1, frankly, because the Senate won't vote for it, I think that one's probably dead. The big thing is that Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema got to hold the line on the filibuster.
Yeah.
As long as they hold that, we're in great shape. The worst thing I'm hearing right now is you have somebody like Amy Klobuchar who came out today talking about how she thinks that you can do voter rights in budget reconciliation because it's election infrastructure. I mean, these people are liars. They're liars and they're insane because that makes no sense at all. But most of their agenda, I think, is dead because Manchin and Sinema won't break the filibuster. So now we have to worry about budget reconciliation. And you see it already. They're trying to move everything through budget reconciliation. They're trying to move pathway to citizenship through budget reconciliation. But this is the left. They're going to continuously push and try to find ways and push their narrative and push their agenda no matter what the realities are on the ground. We as conservatives have to stand strong. We cannot be weak-kneed. We cannot negotiate with this. And so I think what's going to happen in the House, Nancy Pelosi wields the House with an iron fist. They're going to have the votes because elections have consequences and they have 5 more votes than we do. But in the Senate, we got to make sure that we hold the line. And that's actually asking a lot of your viewers and listeners to call Kyrsten Sinema, call Joe Manchin, thank them for standing strong and preserving the Republic, and please ask them to stand strong because we need them to keep the filibuster in place.
Last one, you just spoke to the students here, and what is the message for younger people who are just kind of getting started in the conservative movement? They can't vote for a while, so what do you do in the meantime? What do people need to do to get involved?
Stay involved, stay organized. Don't be afraid that because of your viewpoints that people don't want to hear you and you'll be shouted down. Because truth of the matter is there are more conservatives than liberals. There's more of us than there are.
Yeah.
Number 2 is you're the future. Like all this is going to reside on you. You're the ones that are going to have to pay back the debt. You're the ones that are going to have to deal with the aftermath of Biden's crazy agenda.
Sure.
And so we need young people to be educated and to be informed and to be mobilized and just stay in the fight. We're here with you. We're waiting for you to get in there to vote, but you can always work on campaigns and do a lot of other things to be effective for our country.
Congressman Donalds, if people want to keep up with you at home, where should they go?
Oh, everything's at Byron Donalds. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all at Byron Donalds. Follow me.